Offences Against Oneself by Jeremy Bentham. An Open Letter by Károly Mária Kertbeny. Two historic documents in the fight for gay rights in Europe, 1785 to 1869. Read by Andrew Cullum for Ukemi Audiobooks. Offences Against Oneself by Jeremy Bentham. Edited by Louis Crompton. This remarkable and prescient essay by Jeremy Bentham was written around 1785, in the same decade as An Introduction to Morals and Legislation, but was not published during the author's lifetime for fear of prosecution. It was, as far as known, the first formal argument for the reform of homosexual law in England. It is clear that though Bentham used the word pederasty, he was speaking of homosexuality in general, not sexual activity between adults and adolescents. Bentham specifically argues for the decriminalisation of sodomy, which in his time was punishable with death by hanging in England and burning in many countries in Europe. As the academic Louis Crompton, who drew attention to the manuscript, comments, Bentham argues that homosexual acts do not weaken men or threaten population or marriage, and he documents their prevalence in ancient Greece and Rome. Bentham opposes punishment on utilitarian grounds and attacks ascetic sexual morality. In an article published in Journal of Homosexuality 1978, Crompton writes, "In all, Bentham left about 300 manuscript pages on homosexuality and the law. He wrote substantially on the subject at three periods of his life. First when he was 26, again when he was 37, and finally, at greatest length, in his 60s. It was certainly a topic being increasingly considered in Bentham's time, with Cesare Beccaria among those who called for a fresh look at the whole issue. Nevertheless, although France repealed the laws against sodomy during Bentham's lifetime in 1791, the first European country to do so, Bentham was still cautious about going public with his views. To other subjects, he notes, "It is expected that you sit down cool, but on this subject, if you let it be seen that you have not sat down in a rage, you have given judgment against yourself at once." Bentham then changed the words given judgment to betrayed. He continued, "It is a curious example to think what would have become of Socrates and Titus, the delight of mankind, Cicero, the father of his country. Had they lived in these latter days, they would have perished on our gibbets." And he added, "I am ashamed to own that I have often hesitated whether, for the sake of the interests of humanity, I should expose my personal interest so much to hazard as it must be exposed to by the free discussion of a subject of this nature. At any rate, when I am dead, mankind will be the better for it." Offences Against Oneself by Jeremy Bentham. To what class of offences shall we refer these irregularities of the venereal appetite which are styled unnatural? When hidden from the public eye, there could be no colour for placing them anywhere else. Could they find a place anywhere, it would be here. I have been tormenting myself for years to find, if possible, a sufficient ground for treating them with the severity with which they are treated at this time of day by all European nations. But upon the principal utility, I can find none. Offences of impurity. Their varieties. The abominations that come under this heading have this property in common, in this respect, that they consist in procuring certain sensations by means of an improper object. The impropriety then may consist either in making use of an object, 1. Of the proper species but at an improper time, for instance, after death, 2. of an object of the proper species and sex, and at a proper time, but in an improper part. 3. Of an object of the proper species but the wrong sex, this is distinguished from the rest by the name of pederasty. 4. Of a wrong species. 5. In procuring this sensation by oneself without the help of any other sensitive object. Pederasty makes the greatest figure. The third, being that which makes the most figure in the world, it will be proper to give that the principal share of our attention. In settling the nature and tendency of this offence, we shall for the most part have settled the nature and tendency of all the other offences that come under this disgusting catalogue.